I think in all honesty, it's probably not for you to say, but I can say it that this current Brazil doesn't have the superstars. We've got obviously Vinicius Junior, but they don't have many of the superstars like we've seen in many Brazilian teams.
There is a lot of quality around the world. We have a lot of players, and my job is changed. We are doing now a lot of observation to the player in Brazil. The Brazilian players are everywhere. A lot of in the Premier League, but we have players in Spain, players in France, players in Russia, and we have a lot of players, of course, in Brazil. And so there is quality in the national team, and I'm sure that there will be always quality in the Brazilian player, because I think it's genetic. It's genetic. The Brazilian player are born with a lot of quality.
Yeah, they live for football, don't they? It must be so exciting to lead Brazil into a World Cup. Special, isn't it?
It's special. And I'm really happy. I think it was a good time to leave Real Madrid, because it's obvious to say Real Madrid is in my heart, but it's a great motivation to prepare the World Cup for Brazil, taking in consideration that the last World Cup that they won was in 2002.
Yeah, long time ago.
We are going to compete for sure. I'm really satisfied with the squad. For what I have seen in these few months that I am here, I'm really satisfied. I have to say it's different atmosphere from the club and national team.
What is the difference?
The difference is that it's more difficult to build a good relationship in the squad between players, because they have a different idioma, different culture. When they go to the national team, the same idioma, of course, they talk all Brazilian.
The language,
the same culture. And so it's easier to build between them, a good relationship.
And how about the expectation of the Brazilian football supporters? Because they expect a lot of their national team, don't they? There's a lot of pressure must come with that.
But the idea that I had before to come was the Brazilian supporter want to see a good football. Not true. They want to win. I am unlucky. It's better to build a good team that play good football than to build a team that is able to win. No, Brazilian supporters, they are really passionate about the national team, but they want to win. They want to be back to win and to have a team solid that could compete.
Well, we wish you all the very best with that. Let me go back now to your managerial career. I just wanted to talk about Brazil for a little while, because it's such a big challenge. You play with and against so many great players, and people love to hear about the great players. Diego Maradona, you would have played against him when you were at Milan, against Napoli, of course.
Yes.
Is he one of the best?
The best. Was the best. I played against Platini, different style. I played against, Boniek. But Maradona was, at that period, the top talent. A really talented player, but really strong. With the contact, if you push a team, if you kick a team, he was really strong. Because he had a strong leg, never complained on the pitch. I think, the best player.
Yeah, it was a different game back then. You could just kick people as well and get away with it.
I think football is changed, and now I think that there is more fair play between players than 20 years or 30 years ago when we played. So the strikers like you suffered much more tackle and bad situation than compared to now. Yeah, this for sure.
Well, I think that's true, and the law changes obviously as well. When you first went into coaching, Carlo, and obviously we've already talked about the fact you had a tactical mind, and also the Saki influence. Did you change over time with your tactics? Because you seem to start, I think, in the early days with a 4-4-2, and then you changed as you progressed.
Yeah, I changed a lot. Because I think when I started, I didn't have the experience to move in another system. So when my first experience in Serie A was at Parma, and Parma we started 4-4-2. We did well, but the year after I had the possibility to sign one of the best players in Italy that at the time was Baggio. But Baggio wanted to play number 10, and I was not so comfortable to sign him because I didn't know how to put him in the squad. So I didn't sign him. It was a mistake because Baggio was a fantastic
Great
player.
player.
But after that, I start to learn when I went to Juventus. I found Zidane, that was one of the best players of the team, that played number 10. And so I start to think to play in different system. And after years, I understood that the system is not the most important part of the job. You have to find a system that has to adapt well to the players, because the player has to be comfortable in the system. You don't have to put the players in a system that he doesn't like, or to put a player in a position that he doesn't like. You have to be able to adapt the system to the characteristic of the players. I think that there is no winning system, and the system that you put in place has to be evolved by the players.
You went to Milan, didn't you? And that was an incredibly successful period with just such a another one of the all-time great sides, I would say, that you built there, didn't you? You went on to win 2 Champions Leagues. And as you mentioned in the book, that ultimately was the dream. You did it twice as a player. And now to do it again as a manager, as a coach, that must have been one of the absolute highlights.
Yeah, Milan was a great experience because I was a player there, and then I knew really well the atmosphere there. I know really well the board, the president, and Milan was a fantastic experience. They invested a lot because they signed fantastic players, Rui Costa, Rivaldo. They signed at that period Seedorf. They signed Pirlo, Shevchenko that was there. And so they wanted to build a team with good players. And what we were able to do was to find a good balance in the team with top players. Because we played some games, we played with Pirlo, Seedorf, Rivaldo, Rui Costa, and a striker. I don't want to say we invented the Christmas tree, but in 2004 we played with one striker that was Inzaghi because Shevchenko was injured, and I put in place 2 offensive midfielder. One was Rui Costa, and another one was Rivaldo, and 3 midfielder at the back, with midfielders with quality, because Pirlo was the holding midfielder and Seedorf was the left midfielder, with only one Gattuso that was
the hard man.
Was a Rottweiler.
Yeah. The Rottweiler. And also Kaká came to the club.
Kaká came in 2004 after the first Champions League, and I was really surprised because I didn't know, honestly, Kaká. The club signed to me Kaká and explained to me that was a modern midfielder, but I didn't know him, and it was really true, because Kaká, I think, in my opinion, was the first player that with a strong physical capacity to play as number 10. Because usually at that period, number 10 was a player with strong quality, but not so fast, not so physical strong. Kaká was, I think, the first one.
I mean, you've coached so many great players, and I'll come to that a little bit later, but how is it difficult sometimes for a coach to control big egos? Superstars have egos. Is that as an important part of the job as actually the tactical side of things? Is managing big players when perhaps they're left out or they're upset?
The ego is an important part in the squad. Personal level, I don't know. I think it's important to have in the squad players with ego. But the ego, individual ego, cannot be more than what is the goal of the team. 2 weeks ago in a press conference in Brazil, I said, and I agree with this because I said this, and so
I hope you agree with it then.
I said, I don't want to put in the squad players that want to be the best player of the World Cup.
Yeah.
I want to put players, they want to win the World Cup. And so the ego, individual ego, is important to reach the goal of the squad. And I have to say, it's not difficult to manage the top players, because usually the top players are the most professional players.
Because you have to be to get there.
Yeah, serious, professional. I can say one of the best professional players was Cristiano Ronaldo.
Of course, yeah.
Big ego, strong personality. Another player with big ego and strong personality was Sergio Ramos, for example. But he's a good ego for the team.
Do you sometimes you treat people differently because of certain characteristics in them. So you won't treat every player the same way or talk to them in the same way?
I try to talk to the player the same way and to treat them the same way. But for example, I don't want to explain to all the player the reason because they play or don't they play. But the player that is used to play, I have to explain to him. So I can treat the player that is used to play different from the player that most of the time is on the bench. I try to have a relationship with the person, not with the players. And so this is because if you ask to the player, who are you? They are used to say, I am a player. No, you are a person that play football. So this is the difference that I want to try, because sometimes a manager has to take decisions that are only professional decisions, but the professional decisions sometimes affect the personal relationship. Example, if I put a player on the bench that I have a really good relationship with him, the day after is not going to say to you, hello. Why? Because I put him on the bench, but I put on the bench the player, not the person. It's not easy to understand for a player, this.
Yeah. Is that the toughest part of management, is leaving players out rather than picking players?
Yes, it's the toughest part to manage the squad in this sense, because, for example, this is a huge difference compared to the national team, because I have to manage a player in a club, you have to manage a player for 1 year. And the day that he's going to play, the day he's not going to play, the day he's sad, the day he's injured. In the national team, this doesn't happen, because if the player is not happy to come, I call another player. I don't have to manage this kind of things. I don't want to say more simple, but I think it's like this. And I don't have to manage injured players. And how many times you have to think to replace players that are injured. Above all, now that football is, the schedule of football is crazy, you have a lot of injuries. But in the national team, you call the players that are fit.
Yeah. You managed, obviously, Real Madrid for, two spells interspersed with 1 or 2 clubs elsewhere. What you did at Real Madrid both times, you must be so proud of.
Yeah, but talking about ego, I had the luck to find in the second period, when there was Ronaldo, when there was Sergio Ramos, I was lucky to find a team without ego, for example. There were fantastic players like Modric, Casemiro, Toni Kroos, Carvajal, Karim Benzema, without ego.
Really? Wow.
We built a good connection between the young players that were coming out, like Vinicius, Rodrigo, Valverde, Camavinga. Of course, the club helped a lot because signed fantastic players, Bellingham, Güler, Hendrik, and so we were able to build this kind of connection and to win 2 Champions League in a club that support you a lot, because Real Madrid is really a fantastic club and really the best club that I can compare to Milan, of course, but for Milan, for me, is more emotional than other teams.
This is obviously predominantly British-based podcast. So you mentioned Jude Bellingham there, and there are concerns, people saying, question marks about Jude Bellingham here, because basically that's what we do. But I mean, what a wonderful talent. What's he like as a human being, as a player, and as a person?
I think Jude is a fantastic player. If I have to compare, we were talking about Kaká, is this kind of player, really talented player, who is physically really strong, fantastic to arrive in the box at the right time. He did really well, he's doing really well, and maybe he had a problem with his shoulder, no?
Yeah.
Shoulder. Yeah, with his shoulder, he was out for 2 or 3 months. Now he's back. No question mark. But why you have to put question mark on Bellingham?
I said the same thing, because you've been in this country, you know what it's like. And we tend to do that to our players, and they start to say, well, his behaviour off the pitch and his ego's too big. And I mean, all the evidence I've ever heard from people that actually do know him says the complete opposite, that he's a great professional and he works really hard. So
no, I never had a problem with Jude about his attitude. That is really professional, really serious, work hard in training, like all the English player does. and no complaint at all.
That's great to hear. I love the story in your book. I'd love you to tell it about how you went back to Madrid the second time. You were Everton boss, of course, where you'd been for a relatively short space of time, and then you called Madrid.
Because the year before I called Real Madrid at the same time, just to know if they had players that could leave the club. And the year before we signed James Rodriguez for Everton. Mm-hmm. And I called at the same period the year after, and I asked them. I knew that they were looking for a coach, because I maintained a good relationship with Real Madrid. And I asked them, did you find a new coach? They said no. And I said to them, listen, you have to find a good coach for Real Madrid, not the normal one. What do you think could be the good coach? But I said to them, did you forget what we did in 2014?
I love that.
I could do this only for Real Madrid.
Yeah.
I had a good feeling at Everton. I was really happy at Everton. Also, if we had different team difficulties, but I think the start of that season was really good for Everton, and I was happy at Everton. Honestly, good atmosphere, good training ground, good people, but I couldn't say no to Real Madrid.
Real Madrid is Real Madrid. I know you've not got much time, so I want to talk about some of the players that have played for you, which, I mean, it's quite remarkable. Is there anyone you've not coached? Both Ronaldos, right?
Yes.
Zinedine Zidane and
yes,
Gareth Bale, and the list is endless. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. But
Gary, sometimes they ask me to do my best lineup. Honestly, it's impossible. If you start, for example, goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Saying this, I forget someone 100%. Yeah. I said Peruzzi, and Dida, Peter Cech, Neuer, Casillas, Courtois, and I forget someone. Buffon. I had Buffon at Parma when I started. And so to choose the best one, and the list of the strikers.
Well, this was how I was going to actually do the question, because I didn't want to say to you, pick your best starting lineup, but just to list, I was going to say list your goalkeepers and your defenders and midfield. So give us some defenders.
Well, some defenders. We are in England. Of course, I have my heart for John Terry, for example.
Yeah. He was so good.
I had Alex Carvalho. Yeah. I had Jaap Stam, Maldini, Nesta. Sergio Ramos, Pepe, Varane, unbelievable.
Yeah, you played with and coached Maldini, of course.
Yes, and Maldini's father was my manager when I was at Parma.
Yeah. Midfielders, go on, give us a list of midfielders. This is good, I like this.
Pirlo, Xavi Alonso, Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, Casemiro, Lampard, Ballack, Essien, Chelsea. I had Arturo Vidal, Seedorf, Gattuso, Ambrosini. Unbelievable.
It's not bad, is it? And the list of forwards is ridiculous. Ronaldo.
Miss only Gary Lineker.
Well, no, I wouldn't have made that list. I wouldn't have got even close. You've basically managed every top striker in the modern game, which is absolutely fabulous. I must ask before you go about Xabi Alonso, and he's had a good start at Real Madrid.
Xavi is a good profile for. I was sure that he could be a fantastic manager, but he's a good profile of the Real Madrid.
Did Real Madrid involve you in the decision at all? Did they ask for your advice on perhaps who's? I don't know if it works like that.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But he's really good profile because he knows the team, and I was sure that he was, because he had a really good view of the play when he was a player. He was a fantastic midfielder, and he's doing really well. He did really well in Leverkusen, and I hope for him the best because, of course, I am a supporter of Real Madrid.
When you're coaching players, can you see the players that you think might end up being coaches themselves, like Xabi Alonso? Could you see that in him?
Yes, I can see. But depends now. I think the players are not so happy to be the manager in the future because they think how stressful is this job. But there are a lot of players that can be a good manager, not only because the tactical aspect is a part of the game, of the job. But there are other parts that are really important, and you have to take in consideration this, because you have to be good tactically, of course, and you can learn with the experience, with the game that you are going to play, with the mistake that you are going to do. But there is also, how can I say, the motivation, the passion that you have for this job.
You've got to have that. What would your advice be to someone going into coaching or management now, and they really want to do it? What would the best bit of advice be, do you think?
The best advice?
Yeah, be lucky.
Be patient.
Yeah, patient. But clubs are never patient, are they, with coaches?
I have to say, to be sacked is part of the job.
I was going to say, is there any other profession you can think of where even someone that has, well, you could certainly make a case that you're the most successful club coach in the history of football because of what you've achieved, yet even you have lost your job on a few occasions?
Listen, I was sacked Parma, I was sacked in Juventus, I was sacked in Chelsea, I was sacked in Bayern, I was sacked... No, stop.
Stop there.
No, I was sacked in Napoli, so
yeah,
it's part of the job. It will be difficult to understand this the first time that you will be sacked.
Yeah.
But the fifth or the sixth time you will be sacked. And so you have to work not for not be sacked. You have to work to do your best. To do your best. Yes, to show your quality. To show your quality.
It must be quite hard when you do get the sack, though, particularly when you know you're bloody good at your job.
The first time that I was sacked, I was really sad.
Yeah.
The second time, a little bit less. And the sixth time, when I was sacked for Napoli, I said, okay, no problem.
I mean, there's not another profession. I cannot think of another profession like it where you can be really, really, really good at your job, but you know at some point it's very likely that you'll get the sack from it.
You know, I have an opinion about it, because there is no university of football, Gary. There is no university of football. It's really difficult. There are not a lot of people that can manage my job.
No, true.
Of course, cannot be a president for sure, because most of the presidents are not going to training ground. They are not in the dressing room when you talk. They are not in your office when you talk one-to-one to a players. And so this is job. No, it's not only. And so the manager, for the fact that are not be judged for all these kind of things, they are judged only for one thing:
results. Yeah.
If you win, you are a good player, you are a good manager. If you lose, you are a bad manager. But this is not true. It's not true, because there are fantastic managers that train really well that are not able to have a success. But if you are able to do your job at your best, you have success. It is a success.
Success for you now, as we come to the end here, would be obviously to win the World Cup with Brazil. If you did that, I mean, I don't think there's any argument about the most successful manager of all time. It's a tough job. You've just signed to the World Cup. That's the new dream. You've got the book out now that's called The Dream. That would be a dream come true, wouldn't it?
It would be a big come true, yes, of course. Yeah. But we have to think about this, that we can win the World Cup. We could win the World Cup. We can. We have to think like this. There is a fantastic atmosphere in Brazil, because there is a strong passion for the national team. Mm-hmm. But as I said before, not to play well. They want to win.
To win, of course.
I think England the same.
England the same. Italy the same.
Yeah.
Everywhere the same, isn't it? Yeah. Ultimately, if you win,
I think it will
they only start talking about the style of football when you're losing, right?
Yeah.
I think so. Well, I wish you all the very best with that job and with winning the World Cup. Will it be your last job?
It depends how long I will stay in Brazil.
Yeah. So you're not thinking whatever happens at the end of the World Cup, that's it? No, you're not.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm really focused this. As I said, I'm really happy to be here. Different job, but at the moment less pressure because we are already qualified and we have time to think about the World Cup.
Plan.
Of course, there will be a lot of pressure in the World Cup, but this is absolutely normal. And I want to thank you. It was really a pleasure to talk to you. And I hope to see you at the World Cup.
I'll be there. I'll be there, Carlo.